people would, critics around the time of Street Cleaner, and then when we went from that to Slave State and onwards, I think people were always surprised that we didn't just knock out another 5 Street Cleaners, I mean, this is fairly standard, the way bands generally find a successful template and, exhaust it, drain it of its very life by making the same record over and over again, because it's a formula that's successful, We obviously never ever took that route. In fact, we made a few suicidal moves,
Really?
We would do things that absolutely pleased us without any regard for fans or critics, It was it's an entirely selfish way of making music, but for me that's the only way to make music.
Well, yeah, but we want to hear what's coming out of you.
Yeah.
I
mean, you can only, this is it, as a musician I can only consider my own tastes first. As soon as it gets down to, there's always going to be people around you, or always people suggesting that, well, if you do this and do that, you could sell a lot of records, you can make a lot of money and all the rest of it, but it's just like, it would be soul-destroying for me to do anything that isn't what I feel a completely 100% honest expression of what I wish to do as an artist. I mean, it's each to their own. People find successful formulas and wish to reap the benefits of it, and then fine. And some of these people, obviously, it's a pleasure to discover a successful winning formula and to consistent.
And to stay with it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's fine. Each to their own. It's just, it would depress me to actually to exist like that. To make something to order, so to speak. So yeah, I mean, this is it. That as a consequence, it means a new Godflesh album would be extremely challenging to us, and it would need to be challenging. I mean, but the small amounts of stuff that I have written already, or even if it's just primitive riff writing, it's quite obvious that it would be an extremely heavy, brutal record. It would still probably be an examination of what Godflesh was and much more. It's just not that easy for us, So.
Right, yeah. Well, and I think that because you've, always pushed yourself and changed and put pressure on yourselves to make sure that your expression is true, that may be why it's actually easier for you to revisit Godflesh now, because it wasn't one thing that was stuck with one period. Yeah,
that can be seen as very true. Like, very, very, very true. To be honest, I mean, it's the... I don't know, maybe this isn't unusual, but for me, if I work on one thing and I'm like buried in it, buried in one project, I get really tired very easy, actually. I get bored, quite literally. I find it tedious after a while. I mean, this is what I used to find about touring, I used to find spending 2, 3, 4, 5 months on the road around the world playing the same songs every night, I would find soul-destroying eventually,
Yeah.
Because for me, it's faking it eventually. The passion for it runs out, and as soon as the passion runs out, then for me, I'm just, I'm dead in the water. You know what I mean? It's meaningless. It becomes absolutely meaningless. And music for me has so much meaning. I've not toured for a number of years now, and there's many reasons for that, and that's one of the reasons. I can't just keep repeating myself. I find it absolutely nullifying and utterly pointless. I mean, obviously, the industry exists upon this as well, and in the current climate, it's an absolute necessity that bands play live as much as they can, because nobody's buying records, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yes it is.
So it's a shame, because that's coincided with my absolute not wanting to do it. So it's like,
right.
So I better watch it in terms of my living, but it's like somehow I've managed to just about scrape a living out of music for a number of years now, but nobody's buying records anymore, so I'm going to have to I might take to begging soon as well.
Well, and then I'm wondering if sort of being, because Godflesh spanned really from the analog age into the digital age.
Yeah.
Like, if the advent of digital could make touring easier or more flexible for you, because my guess is that the Godflesh setup was so rigid and just so task-oriented that it probably might not have been that easy to change up a set Is that more of an option now?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, with Godflesh, even going backwards as we are, there is such a wealth of material. And like you say, it's much... We don't have to rely now upon using drum machines that have only just come into play, you know what I mean? They're not we're not using archaic technology anymore. We're using modern, super-duper technology, you know what I mean? And it's something I've become well-versed with over the years, you know, because essentially I'm a studio musician. So I use and embrace most modern music technology, you know. If there's something new in music technology, I want to know about it, you know what I mean? I'll be there as quick as I can to discover the... So yeah, I mean, you know, and there is such a wealth of material for Godflesh to delve into. But it's, I mean, at the moment, we've done very little show-wise, but all we've done is of a certain period as well, because it's a period that we felt was the truest Godflesh period, but, you know, we'll probably feel completely differently in about 6 months' time, but
there you go.
All we've done is play material from, basically from the first Godflesh album through to the Pure album, and that's the material that we felt is honours the memory of Godflesh